What happens when American Mcgee decides to take the feverish LSD trip of a novel that is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and make a twisted version of it? Let's find out. Now I can hear all you kids out there saying, "Who's American Mcgee?" Well, he was a key staff member at id Software in the late 90s and made huge contributions to Doom 2 as well as the first two Quake games, so pay your respects. Anyway, the story begins with a house fire. Alice's parents are killed, but she manages to escape. She is then put into an asylum in which she remains in a catatonic state. She is then pulled into Wonderland by Rabbit, who sets her on a quest to save Wonderland, which has become twisted and corrupted by the guilt and terror of her parents' death, which will in turn repair her tortured mind. So yeah, it's a little darker than the original novel, but the story and art style of the game is the most notable part of it. A lot of characters from the classic novel make some sort of appearance, often as bosses, including Tweedledee and Tweedledum, the Mad Hatter, the Jabberwock, and the Red Queen herself. You will also have the Cheshire Cat as well as the Rabbit and Caterpillar to guide you on your way to freeing Wonderland. All of the characters and locations in Wonderland have somehow become warped, however, and represent some part of Alice's damaged psyche, and even some of the staff at the mental hospital in which she is currently staying. I don't want to give too much away, but piecing together the changes in Wonderland and her psyche is pretty fascinating and one of the highlights of the game. The plot has great overall pacing as well. The beginning introduces the concept nicely, the middle supplements that concept, and the end brings everything to a conclusion in a great crescendo. Everything a good story should be. So everything is obviously a twisted version of the Lewis Carroll originals, but it goes deeper than, "Duh, let's make a dark Alice in Wonderland," and there are actually some nice details. For instance, the save screen uses buttons for save, load, and delete, but abbreviates them all to the first letter, making it spell out LSD. The atmosphere also feels very oppressive. You can tell that American had skill working with the browns and grays seen in Quake's color palette, and uses them to great effect here. I think another part of it is the early 2000s graphics being a little grotesque, so the somewhat outdated visual engine actually puts points in the game's favor. The dialogue is also reflective of the original novel and pretty clever in places. The Cheshire Cat offers cryptic wisdom on how to complete certain sections, the Mad Hatter's experiments all offer great flavor to the level they're in, and the Jabberwock tortures Alice psychologically before his fight. The story and atmosphere are certainly the highlight of the game, but now it's time to talk gameplay. The gameplay is pretty simple. It's an action platformer. Basically, you jump around and solve light puzzles, but it forgoes the typical item collection of other platformers for combat. You will use a variety of weapons to take down your enemies, and most of them are some deadly version of a childhood toy. Heat-seeking jacks, demon-summoning dice, and an explosive jack-in-the-box are just a few of the toys at your disposal. I found the combat to be satisfying and gory, and there was enough variety between weapons visually and ludically to keep them interesting, but one of my problems is that there are about 10 weapons in the game, and they're all roughly as powerful as each other, and none of them have a specific enough application that you'll be swapping between them in different situations, so oftentimes I would just use whatever weapon I got last for an hour or two long stretch, until I received another weapon, rinse and repeat. The platforming is less than stellar as well. I found it to be difficult to judge where exactly I was in space, and the small margin for error the game gives you certainly didn't help that. There are also a lot of times when missing a jump means instant death, which only exacerbates the issue. All I'm going to say is thank God for quick saves, because otherwise I would not have been able to make it through this game. In summary, Alice is a creative and twisted game with a well-paced and smart story and gameplay that is well executed, but nothing special.